So I'm going to start recording again. So age is one of the important aspects of learning a language, right? And age are some of the factors that affect learning. But as you can see here, in some aspects, right? Like when you are younger, then you can acquire or learn a native language. However, in grammar and also in syntax and morphology, then you can see that adults and also adolescents, they can, progress better than kids. Okay, here we have this other information that it says, the studies concerning the age factor were summarized by Ellis, 1970, 1985, who states that the route of SLA is not influenced by the starting age, but there is a relationship between the rate of learning and the age of the learners. Adolescents learn faster than adults, and children, as far as grammar and vocabulary are concerned. Although young learners do not learn as fast as old ones, they are prompt to gain a higher overall success because of a longer exposure to the language. He also provides some explanation of the research results. The studies do not support the critical period hypothesis, which states that children can acquire a language naturally and with no effort to some age. The starting age is important only as far as pronunciation is concerned. Now, in this part of the theory, it is mentioning that most of the time, adolescents, they learn faster than adults. And also, let me tell you something. When, when like adolescents, they move from like, let's say in Spanish um, speaker country, they move to like, for example, USA, they learn faster than adults. And let me tell you why. Because they understand syntax and morphology better than kids, you know, better than kids and also better than adults. Because adults, most of the time, they want to learn based on their speed, and also they want to learn things like most of the time they feel comfortable using the translation method, you know. However, in the US, when you like move, when you're an adolescent and you move to the US, most of the time they just speak English, you know, they don't speak Spanish. So most of the time, students, they have to like get used to, you know, the language, and they have to learn and acquire vocabulary while being exposed. And this is one of the methodologies that some schools or academies have implemented through the years, okay? Now, on the other hand, we have kids, right? They, most of the time, they learn pronunciation on perfect, you know, but they don't really study the syntax or morphology, you know, as uh, adolescents or adults, okay? That's the difference. Now here we have intelligence and attitude, okay? So I'm gonna ask, let's see, Kaylee. Kaylee, would you mind helping me out with this?
Sure, teacher. It says intelligence and attitude. Intelligence is defined as measured in terms of linguistics and logical mathematical ability. Success in life and learning should correlate with high intelligence quantity test scores. The studies, sorry, on intelligence show and a strong relationship between intelligence and acquisition of a foreign language, but only as far as academic skills are concerned. Learners with high intelligence quality achieve better results on a language test. It is proved that
Okay, intelligence can't predict the
The
rate.
microphone, her microphone is turned off.
Okay, can you continue? Hello, can you hear me?
yes, teacher, sorry.
Okay.
It is proved that intelligence can predict the rate and success in the formal language classroom. The ability to perform well in a standard intelligence test correlates highly with school-related second language learning, but is unrelated to the learning of a second language of informal and social expansion. It is assumed that some people are gifted and they learn foreign languages with easy. It was observed that learners acquired a language with different results, despite the fact that they are at the same age and are equally motivated. It is not just intelligence that can explain these differences. Students need attitude, some specific abilities which are responsible for learning language.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. So here, what we can see is that intelligence is defined as measured in terms of linguistic and logical mathematical abilities, right? Success in life and learning should correlate with high IQ, okay? High IQ. Have you heard about IQ? Have you heard about that? In Spanish, IQ. What is IQ?
Not really, teacher.
Okay.
I think there's a test, right, that measure up how smart a person can be.
Yeah, exactly. IQ, it's a test that supposedly proves how smart you are. You know, it is called in Spanish inteligencia. No, how did it call it? I'm sorry. Intelligence for teaching.
Coeficiente intelectual.
Exactly. Coeficiente intelectual. It proves, supposedly it proves like how smart you are, but it's based on linguistic and logical mathematic abilities, okay? So it is not measuring your emotional intelligence, which is one of the most important aspects that are taken into account right now for getting a job. You know what I mean? Because you can have an Albert Einstein as a teacher, but if Albert Einstein as a teacher cannot explain you a topic, like if Albert Einstein is not able to explain you something, then Albert Einstein is not useful. You know what I'm saying? So he cannot teach you. So the IQ is not everything, okay? So here it says that these studies on intelligence show a strong relationship between intelligence and acquisition of a foreign language, but only as far as academic skills are concerned. You know what I'm saying? But learners with high IQ achieve better results on language tests. So imagine that you have very high IQ. So maybe that can prove that you can have a high result on a test. However, it doesn't prove that you are really good at talking or or interacting with other people. You know what I'm saying? So this is proving that you probably are good at syntax and grammar, but you're not good at speaking. You know what I'm saying? So that it's important as well. And when we're teaching a language, it is important to focus on the meaningful part. You know, I'm not saying that the linguistic and the logical part are less important than the pronunciation or the speaking part. However, what I'm saying is that teaching your students how to speak, how to express their ideas, it is better than just explaining them grammar rules and linguistic rules, okay? So that's one of the things that you have to take into account when you're teaching the language. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not really important, you know, like the grammar rules, you know, because sometimes like when your students are producing, they can be like correcting themselves, you know, while they are in the process, you know. Like for example, when you have like basic learners, it wouldn't be so cool to correct their pronunciation or to correct their way of speaking because they're just starting, you know what I'm saying? So for these kind of learners, it would be better to let them speak and then to correct them through peer correction or other ways of correcting them, you know. Now, in the other hand, we have learning styles, okay? We have learning styles. Okay, I'm gonna ask Melanie, would you mind helping me out with this reading? Hello, Melanie, are you there? Well, okay, Oscar Cortez, would you mind helping me out?
Sure.
Okay.
Learning style. Keith, Kiffey, 1979, cited by Ellis, 1994, 499, described learning style as the characteristic cognitive, affective, and physiological behaviors that serve relatively stable indicators of how learners perceive, interact with, and respond to the en- learning environment. The student's learning style can be influenced by many factors, among which are their genetic background, their culture, and previous learning experience. It is said that if teachers match their teaching method to their students' learning styles, the students will be more successful and more interested in the language. Researchers have developed many different types of the learning styles.
Okay, thank you very much. So here, learning styles, they play an important role of language acquisition or language learning process, you know. Here, when the teacher take into account like how learners learn, then the process is better. You know what I'm saying? Like if I know that, for example, Jeffrey learns by doing, then I have to think about activities that involves movements, you know, that involves like more action activities, you know. But if I know that, for example, if I know that Ezekiel learns by reading, then I can have text, you know, then I can ask him to read and analyze and give his opinion. Then all these aspects are important because when you take like learning style into consideration, then you open a new world for learners to acquire the language, you know. Now, here we have a schema. Well, and then we have a memo about motivation and attitude. When you're learning a language, I mean, previously we have learned about learning styles, but when we talk about motivation and attitudes, I mean, this part, most of the teachers don't talk about it, but this part is also important, you know. Like when your teacher, for example, is not motivated, when your students are not motivated, then you have a problem, you know. Then you have a problem because like you need to motivate your students as well as your teacher need to be like motivated, you know, in order to share with you activities or also they I mean the teacher should give you the tools for motivate you and motivate your classmates as well. So right now what we're gonna do is like we're gonna have a short discussion. Okay, we're gonna have a short discussion of okay of three participants. Okay, we're gonna have four groups. We're going to discuss how important is motivation, okay, and also attitude in a learning process, okay? So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes for discussing, okay? So let's go on the breakout rooms.
Hi.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hi, thank you. So, are you going to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, with motivation, I think that, well, it's very important because if it comes from their parents, from a student's parents, I think it's very good to motivate a student to be like better, to study more if if they can. So I think it's very important, and also the attitudes that a student can have, because some students doesn't like to, I don't know, to study, so they think that to study is very boring. So I don't know, it has to the attitude has to change in a student to be like I don't know, to change. I lost the idea. Oh my god, I lost the idea. But yeah, I think it's very important to motivate our students.
Uh, Thank you, Rebecca. I think motivation is a very important factor because it means what moves someone to do something. For example, in this case, what moves a student to learn. I think the motivation has to come from the inside, from the outside, because the first one have to be motivated to learn, have to be the student, not the teacher in the first case, because the teacher is prepared. He or she got graduated, and in this case the one who had to put the greater effort to learn must be the student. However, teacher must to propitiate an environment where a student can feel some kind of thing that motivating him or her in order to learn as well. For me, motivation is kind of, let me put an example, is like the gasoline of a car that move the car. Without gasoline, a car cannot move. And without motivation, students can learn. That's my participation.
All right, everyone. Hello, I'm
So,
Osvaldo. Yes, I got along with your statement about motivation. Motivations, you know, it is really important because through motivation, we are helping the students to feel comfortable in the class. If you include motivation in the class, you're going to create a legit and a wonderful class, and the students are going to feel loved and they are going to feel comfortable while they are getting the class. As you know, guys, if we include or if we provide motivation to the students, they will be able to do whatever they want to, because they will feel brave in doing whatever they want to do. For example, if there is a student that probably doesn't speak pretty well, or there's a student that is having trouble in doing an activity, you can motivate that students in order to accomplish the activity. So if you include motivation and at the same time you include time in your students, you will create a big impact in your students' life. So for that reason, guys, it is really important to include motivation in the class, because we are going to help the students to feel brave, to feel good in whatever they want to do. So that's exactly what I think motivation it's important in the class. I don't know if there's another question.
No.
Mr. Torres said that we have 1 more minute in order to discuss about the question. So I really like the example that Mr. Ezekiel told us about the gas with the car. It was saying that a car without gas is not going to move. So, and he was comparing gas with motivation. And you know, motivation will help the student to carry on, as I said before, to continue doing the same activity at the same rate. So motivation will help the students to move, to feel good, or to do whatever they want to do. So don't forget to include motivation in your class, because it's going to make a big impact. It doesn't matter if the student is not doing really well in something, try to motivate him, try to motivate her. So if someone is having trouble in pronouncing a word, or probably failed in any exams, you can tell him or you can tell her that she or he can do better in the next test. So motivation is really, really meaningful. Anything else that you want to say before leaving?
No, I'm done.
Right.
Was with Oscar.
At the beginning, I was alone.
Okay. Well.
So is this the main meeting or in a small group?
All right, guys, now that we are back, I heard some of your opinions, and then some of them were really good. Some of them were saying that motivation plays an important role of like learning, and that's true. Like if you're not motivated, then it's difficult. You know, it's difficult to learn another language. You know, like if you, for example, if you have like a teacher, for example, that is telling you or correcting you every time you say a word, then you're not motivated. You know what I'm saying? Like if I ask you to give your opinion, for example, and then I start like correcting you every single mistake, then you're not going to be motivated, because you're going to say like, well, you know, I try to talk, but this teacher is correcting me every time. So probably you're not going to be motivated. Motivation has to do with the attitude that you chose, you know, that you show, I'm sorry, to the way that you're learning. And your teacher plays an important role, because your teacher can give you like, increase your confidence. Because remember at the beginning, I told you that you can make like any mistake you want. You know what I mean? Like I'm not looking for perfection. No, through the process, we can learn and like take advantage of the pronunciation of the everybody, you know, so we can learn and correct ourselves while the other ones participate, okay? So taking that into account, it is obvious that learners who want to learn are likely to achieve more those who do not. For example, like in the career, we have those students that they really want to learn and they are always looking for new words, new phrases. And we have all those students that they just want to, hey, what's the homework? You know, and they always ask about that and they just copy and paste. All right. And probably they graduate, but in the future, when they try to look for a job, then they don't get the job because they were not motivated and they're not competitive, you know, like they don't get the job because they were not born to teach. Okay, so your motivation and your attitude shows, you know, shows who you really are. Okay, so we have to take that into account. All right, now here we have that motivation and attitude are essential aspects of learning. Okay, um, if you're motivated, then you can learn something. I mean, put this into a context. When you like something, you learn faster. You know, probably some of you, maybe, I don't know, some of you like to play the guitar and then you like that. And you probably didn't have an idea about how to play guitar. But if you really liked it, then you learn faster. You know, you pay attention to the classes. You know what I'm saying? So motivation and also your attitude are an important ingredient in order to learn the language. You can probably think about when you were in basic levels, you know, in which you remember that you had a lot of classmates. Probably you had 80, but then that you, I mean, you are in fourth year, you probably have just half of the classmates that you used to have at the beginning. And this has to do with the ability, the motivation, and also the attitude, you know. Those are important aspects in order to success in whatever you do, not just in languages, okay? Now, personality plays an important role as well. Okay, so here in personality, it says personality has been described as a set of features that characterize an individual. It has been stated that this concept is difficult to define and measure because of its complicated nature. Studies which investigate personality traits are based on the belief that learners bring to the classroom not only their cognitive abilities, but also affective states which influence the way they acquire language. Some of them have been found as a benefit, while the others as an obstacle. In learning in second language, the most important personality factors are introversion, extroversion, self-esteem, inhibition, risk-taking, and anxiety and empathy. Now, here, guys, about personality, I would like to say something. For example, when you guys have a very when you're very like shy, when you're very quiet, um, this kind of personality can affect the process of learning. No, in the no, when it comes to learning grammar rules and linguistic terms and all that, but when interacting, okay? So when you're learning a language, you should be open to talk and interact with many people, you know? Like, for example, if your teacher assign you a role or a task about participating or recording a video, then you should talk, you know, you should like express yourself, express your opinions in order to show that you're learning, in order to show that you're practicing. But in these kind of activities, your personality has a lot to do, because if you're like very, very like quiet, then sometimes your performance is being affected because of that. However, if you understand that you're shy, but if you understand that you're learning a language, and if you understand that you have to practice, then everything is okay. Because I mean, when you're like performing something, then you show up that you are capable to do it, you know, and that's something important. Okay, that's something that you have to remember. Even though you are quiet, doesn't mean that you don't have to participate or talk. Okay, then we have self-esteem. Okay, let me see, Jeffrey, would you mind helping me out reading this part?
Okay, self-esteem. Uh, People need some degree of self-esteem, self-confidence in order to succeed in any activity. Cooper Smith, 1967, 4 to 5, cited by Brown, 1994, at 137, provided the following division of self-esteem. By self-esteem, we refer to the evaluation which the individual makes and customarily maintains with regard to himself. It expresses an attitude of approval or disapproval and indicates the extent to which an individual believes himself to be capable, significant, successful, and worth it. People develop their sense of self-esteem as a result of the information they receive about themselves from others. Brown, 1999, 137. Describe three levels of self-esteem: level, situational, and task self-esteem. He claims that situational self-esteem might refer to SLA in general, and task self-esteem might appropriately refer to one's self-evaluation of a particular aspect of the process, speaking, writing, a particular class in a second language, or even a special kind of classroom exercise. Mister, you have the microphone turned off.
Sorry about that. So if you're wondering what I'm sorry, let me just figure out this. Okay, well, if you're wondering about SLA, I don't know if you know the meaning of that. Do you know? No?
Nope.
Okay, well,
Second language acquisition.
awesome. Thank you very much. SLA means second language acquisition. So if you're like wondering about those words or those letters, it means second language acquisition. So here, what it means is that self-esteem plays also an important role. For example, if you're confident enough to participate in an activity or to succeed in an activity, I mean, that plays an important role, because like, I mean, as soon as you participate, that means that you have the positive attitude, you know, to learn and to acquire language, even though if you make many mistakes or not, you know. So here, the important part is that you have to prove yourself if you are capable, you know, to learn and to participate in the language process, you know. Now, this is an important part that we have to be clear on it, okay? It doesn't matter if you don't pronounce everything on perfect, but it means that you are aware of that you're learning something, you know what I mean? Because if you think about it, not even teachers pronounce all the words on perfect, because we all learned language as a second language in acquisition. Like, we learned the language in our country, you know. So nobody will ever pronounce everything on perfect. Okay. Okay. Here we have Williams and Burton, 1997, present social comparison theory that claims that classroom interactions have a great influence on how learners perceive their abilities. Their sense of achievement is strongly affected by the information they get from the teacher and their peers in the classroom. Teachers should realize that they influence not only students' academic performance, but also their emotional states. They should create such atmosphere in the classroom that will help to build students' confidence and lead them to for success. The results of the research suggest that self-esteem is an important variable in SLA. Many studies showed a positive relationship between high self-esteem and academic achievements. So here, guys, what it's saying is that teachers, we play an important role, you know, when it comes to learning. So here, what it says is that in the classroom, there should be a nice atmosphere, okay, about learning, okay? And this involves emotional states, okay? So it means that I'm not gonna be correcting you every time. It means that I have to motivate you, okay? And try to increase your vocabulary and motivate you every time, okay? All right, we're going to stop here because we have less than a minute. Would you mind like joining the call for the less, we have just 15 more minutes. So would you mind like joining a call again, please? Because we have less than a minute.